All right, we are back. It has been almost a year. Big update on one of the coolest fish rooms I've ever seen. Let's check it out. Mike.
Oh, howdy.
What is up? How you doing, man?
Good, nice to see you again.
Good to see you again. Well, here we are, you guys. Mike, I don't know if I just said how many tanks were in here. I don't think I just said it's one of the coolest fish rooms I've ever seen, which is absolutely true. How many tanks are in here?
Right now, about 73.
73, and that is why we call it the Fantastic Fish Room right here in Roseville, Minnesota.
Exactly.
And you've been an aquarist for a long time. You've been
50 years.
50 years. Now, one of the things that I think we talked about last time we were in here was you were breeding Apistos.
Correct.
But the game has changed.
It has.
What's going on? Let's talk about it.
In a nutshell, I mean, I've always loved Apistos. They're a smaller fish, about 2 inches, very colorful, as we talked about last time. It's really easy to tell if they have babies because the female turns up pretty yellow. It's like, that tank's got babies and that tank's got babies, but the cost of them is a little high, and they love blackworms, which really went up in price.
Gotcha. And there was a deficit of blackworms for a while.
Exactly, and so. Not a lot of stores are carrying them anymore, so I really didn't get that diversity. So one day my wife said, I want fish that have babies. Well, guppies are called the million fish because they have babies and babies. Pretty much any water parameters and stuff. So hence you'll see out of the 70 tanks, if you look up here, this is how I remember that there's babies in the tank.
You're a 3D print guy.
Yeah, and it says babies, so that reminds me. So out of the 70 tanks, probably 55 to 60 have babies in. So it's so much fun.
You have done babies, breeding group, Watch for babies. Like you have your whole 3D print setup.
Unproven pair is the other term I use.
So let's talk about, before we get into the guppies, let's just talk about the mechanics of the room. Okay. So you obviously custom set this place up, which is pretty impressive. And we talked a little bit about it in the last one, but for anybody who hasn't seen it, you've got a whole water change system going on.
The best place to start is probably right here.
Okay.
This is my hospital tank, so that's why there's no fish, no plants or anything. In case a fish gets sick, you want to get them out as quickly as possible. And that thing in the middle is called the ballast. So all my tanks, except for the bottom ones, are drilled. So if I want to do a water change, I just turn the knob here and you will see very fast that that water is going to sink and level.
Okay, so that's coming right through the ballast.
Oh, right through the ballast and all the way down to the main drain down there.
Okay.
And then we go what I affectionately call the Wizard of Oz room, and depending if I want RO water or fresh water, I turn the knob and all these white PVCs that you see, here's a easier example. I can just turn this on and the water's gonna come out.
Wow.
And most of the tanks that have fries, of course, these guys are gonna hide because,
well, there's little guys right here.
Well, I'm looking for the little bottom feeder. There we go. The little catfish right there. Most of my tanks with fries are gonna have bottom feeders. And then that way, as the food sinks, they'll eat up the food. But
now, one of the things that I understand to be, obviously true about guppies is they themselves are not very aggressive, but aggressive fish with guppies can be a problem for the guppies.
Exactly.
Larger fish potentially, but especially for fry. So if you are breeding, which you're obviously doing, you have to think about the species that you're adding into the tank. So you're thinking like Cory cats or plecos or bristlenose or something that's, you're not putting cichlids in here.
Cichlids, large angels. I have unfortunately lost guppies where the angel fish will go, that's a pretty little treat.
Okay.
You had talked about non-aggressive, and all the years I've been doing this, I've never had an aggressive guppy until last month. So I'll show you what I had to do. Follow me.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, so these two guys are the only time I've ever had an aggressive guppy. It's almost like two male Siamese fighting fish, but I just took this, used my 3D printer to make a bracket, put something in between, and this is big enough for It's a 15-gallon, big enough for the 2 males. So that's what's going on there.
Okay, so you're just going to have to constantly keep them separated.
Yeah, she's going to have babies in probably a day or 2.
Neat.
So speaking of babies.
Yeah, what's going on over here?
So this is one thing that really, probably the biggest question I get when people come down here is, what the heck is this? Well, most of us growing up have had sea monkeys, and if you remember, sea monkeys are just brine shrimp eggs, which are dried like that. They can last literally 100 years, I've been told. You put the right amount of salt in, you measure the salt and the water, it goes up to there, and within a day, if I pull these out, we'll do that, and we'll come back to that later in the video. That will be the baby fish food, brine shrimp.
Okay, so one other thing, Mike, I noticed here from, well, that's, I would consider an update from the last time I was here, because it wasn't here, is this saltwater sump, refugium area, the whole thing, clearly not being used for saltwater. What's the story behind this?
Yeah, why are there guppies in a saltwater sump? I ran out of tanks, to be totally honest with you, so I like to keep my guppies separate, each species in its own tank, and there was a lot of these guys, they had just bred, and this works out perfect. I just threw a filter on, so it shows you can kind of be innovative with your tank. It doesn't have to be the fancy glass box. This worked for me, and
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well done. That's very creative,
yeah.
as you've shown in many other areas in this room. Now, speaking of this room, one of my favorite parts of the whole tour last time we were here was the behind the curtains,
the Wizard of Oz
room. Can we go check that out one more time? All right, let's go take a look. All right, Mike, everywhere I turn, you've got tanks. I mean, I came in here, I think I do remember a tank, but now I feel like there's more tanks. But anyway, we're in the Wizard of Oz room. This is where the magic happens. Tell me how this place works.
We call it the Wizard of Oz room because I usually don't let people in here. But
all right.
People always ask, with this many tanks, don't you have mold and mildew growing? There's 2 different air purifying systems. What we call the octopus arms is taking fresh air from the outside, and the rule is you have to have it at least 10 feet away from where you're throwing the stale air out. So all that fresh air goes through my air conditioning or heating unit, and so that's what these 2 machines do. And this is the RO water. This side's RO, that side is regular, what some people call waste water. So depending on what the fish needs, they can get soft water or hard water. So
you make, if you want to fill a tank with one or the other, you go make the determination in here. And
right
then,
here, yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. So you'll flip one of these valves, and then when you go out there and fill, it's going to fill from whichever.
Or you can do a mix depending on the fish.
That's cool.
Yep.
Wow, that's really impressive. So yeah, you've got the whole thing going on here, and more guppies and more fish and the whole thing.
More fish.
2,000 gallons of water in this place?
Plus.
Oh my God.
Now with the additional 10 tanks we just added.
All right, Mike, it was great to be back. Always fun to see you. Always fun to see this room. Incredible what you're doing, and I look forward to coming back again.
It was great to have you over. Oh, by the way,
yeah.
I need some help. We got 70 tanks to feed. So you were looking at that brine shrimp before?
Yeah.
That's what's in here. I measured it out. Just dip that net in there, and you can see how they hatch out.
All right, it's the least I can do. I got to help you in the room here.
Just right in there. I'll let the babies feed.
There we go.
1 down, 69 to go.
All right, here we go. It's going to be a long day.